Hi, good evening, everyone. Hello. Welcome to Willingness Wednesday. I am your coach, BVon Squires, and tonight we are sponsored by Source. I am so happy to see you all tonight. I'm very excited about today's message as we continue to talk about emotional intelligence. But before we get any further in, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are new to this Willingness Wednesday, I hope you hear something that will inspire you and intrigue you enough that you want to come back next week and spend more time with us here on Wednesday night at 7:15 p.m. And if you are returning, you know I could not do this without you. I appreciate your love and support. Thank you so much for returning. Okay, so you guys know we have been going over, some of you know, and some of you are new. And so, for the ones that are new, I'm going to do a little recap for us so that everyone's on the same page. I want everyone to be able to have the same opportunity to understand and get this information, and it actually builds upon itself. We started a few weeks ago with Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And then we rolled over into emotional intelligence. And last week was just so amazing. It was just so awesome because I had a personal story that I shared with you guys and how I applied the habits 1 through 5, 6 and 7, and also the emotional intelligence to my situation. It was such an honor to be able to bring that personal story to you and talk to you about how I got through it because I am a human. I am a coach, yes, and I'm highly effective, but I am human. So here we go. Last week, well, no, I won't do that. What I will do is I will start with the components of the emotional intelligence. The first component is self-awareness or metacognition. And what that means is that I have the ability, someone has the ability, you have the ability, that's it. You have the ability to identify your feelings, right? Identify your feelings and your moods, and then the ability to think about the mood that you're actually experiencing. And so the neocortex has to come into play so that you're able to name that emotion so that it can be identified. And then once it's identified, well, then, you have something to work with. However, there's this pesky part of our brain on the right side of our brain called the amygdala. And this amygdala loves to jump in and save us from harm. It wants to jump in and prepare us for fight or flight when we're not even in any danger, not any real danger anyway. And so what happens is the amygdala is triggered by the charged emotions and then takes over and says, okay, I'm taking over from here. I've got this. Don't you worry. I've got this. You're not gonna hurt. You're not gonna look bad. You're not gonna sound bad. I got this. But the thing about it is, once the amygdala takes charge of your emotions, you're in your subconscious mind. There you are in your subconscious mind. You're more than anything just going through the motions of life, not really feeling any fulfillment, not really making any total progress, just going through the motions. A lot of times we don't even realize that we've been hijacked by the amygdala because it happens so instantly. We are so triggered, and then impulsively we go into that defense mechanism of the amygdala. That's why it's so important to have someone that is aware of these things that you can talk to, that can help you see, hey, you know what? The last time I talked to you, you were saying this, that, and the other. And this time you're saying something different. I just want to make you aware of that. And because somebody might not be aware, we have to be each other's eyes and ears so that we can help each other maintain our emotions. Which brings me to the second component of emotional intelligence, and it's called managing your emotions. So you want to be able to manage your emotions without having to act them out. We know that we are lots of times affected by things that go on around us. Situations, circumstances, the moon, just all kinds of things actually affect us because we are multidimensional. We have the physical component. We have the emotional component. We have the spiritual component, right? And also the mental and physical component. We have all those components of who we are. And so we're apt to be triggered in one of those areas on any given day. And so understanding your emotions and understanding what creates those emotions, right? The emotions are actually created from your perception of an event, right? The event happens, everyone sees it from their own perspective. After that event happens, each one of the people who saw that event then identify with it through their own respective belief systems, right? And then based on the belief system that each of these people had that saw the event, there's going to be an emotion or a feeling tied to it, right? There's going to be a feeling tied to it. And so the feeling tied to the perspective of the event, right? And then we repeat it over and over and over again. That's what creates our strong emotions. That's what creates our core emotions. Those emotions that we feel over and over and over again become our core emotions. Those emotions that we go to, our go-to emotions. You know, you wonder why people can go from 0 to 60 seconds and it's on and popping. It's because they have already ingrained that emotion into their core emotions that they have available. Right? The body and the mind don't even have to think twice. They just jump right into the core emotions. And that's why it's so important that we dispel any of those faulty belief systems so that when an event happens, we're able to see it from a healthy perspective so that we don't end up creating charged emotions and repeating them, creating then that core emotion that's always there to take its place, whether we want it to or not. And the reason I say that is because we want to spend as much time as we can in our conscious mind, but when we are triggered and that amygdala takes over, there we go into the subconscious mind. And I need to remind you that 97% of your day, of the average person's day is spent in autopilot. It's spent in subconscious, right? Which is kind of sad because the subconscious is only regurgitating old information. It's not giving you anything new. You know what I mean? It's just rolling off of old situations, rolling off of old behavior, old feelings, old emotions that might not even fit who you are today. That's why it's so important to talk to someone like me, your coach, so that we can go back and look at your belief systems to make sure that the perception you have today and the identification you have today is what represents who you are authentically in this moment in time. Okay. All right, so the next thing I want to tell you is about the self-motivation third component. The third component of emotional intelligence is self-motivation, right? Self-motivation. We talked about that last week. It's so important to be able to motivate yourself, but first you have to know who you are. You have to be able to get with that self-awareness piece and find out who you are. You have to get with that private victory piece and become proactive, right? You have to become a leader of your own life and then a manager of your own life so that you have something to bring to others, right? So that you are able to self-motivate. What I had to do, and this is what I explained last week, was so profound. I was feeling unmotivated. And so what I had to do was go back to some of my old achievements. I pulled out my resume and I looked at my resume. I updated my resume. And after looking at it and updating it, I was so charged by all the energy that I left in those places. You know what I'm saying? It's like I still have a legacy of energy in those places. And so I went back to each one of those positions that I was in, looked at each one of these certifications that I had gotten, looked at every degree that I earned, and I remembered the struggle, and I remembered the fun, and I remembered the joy and the celebration once I finally crossed over that stage. That is something that no one can ever take from you, and it's always available for you if you're feeling low in your energy. Okay, so the other thing I want you to know is that before you can learn how to self motivate, right? You have to be able to go, you're going to have to be able to go to your higher source. I don't know what you call your higher source, and I don't care what you call your higher source as long as you have a higher source. A higher source, a higher power, a God, a supernatural something that you are able to connect with, that's going to bring power into your life, that is going to be able to motivate you when you need to be motivated. See, God showed me last week an analogy of an Excel spreadsheet of how He is the source tab, and then all the other tabs are who we are, our mental, our emotion, our physical, and our spiritual. And so when something's going on with the workbook, we have to go back to the source tab, the source. Everything leads back to the source so that we're able to find out what's going on with the rest of the tabs, with the rest of us, right? Okay. All right, guys. And so I just want to let you know that if you want to learn more about this information that I shared with you already, you are welcome to call me. I know it's a lot. We have really been doing a lot of work here, because we're not just effective people. We're highly effective people, right? Always striving for solutions, always looking forward for the next opportunity to grow, always looking forward to the next opportunity to learn some new information. Those are highly effective, proactive people, and that's who you guys are. And so that's why we go over these challenging type conversations, because guess what? You're not going to have them anywhere else. Where else are you going to have this kind of a conversation? It's not going to be at school, and it certainly won't be at the dinner table. You have to come here so you can have fun with me, and so that I can pour into you so that you can grow, right? And so that you can widen and become more comprehensive as an individual. If you'd like to reach me, you can call me at 317-721-4354. 317-721-4315. I do apologize. And you can also email me at b.vonsquires@gmail.com. All right, so we're going to move on into what we're here to talk about, which is emotional intelligence. This is the fourth component of emotional intelligence. It's called empathy, right? It's called empathy. Now, empathy is a wordless language that allows us to connect with each other through our emotions. Well, I do apologize. Okay, so back to what I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by that phone. Okay, so the wordless language, right, that allows us to connect with each other through our emotions. This is what empathy is. A lot of people want to sometimes get it confused with sympathy. Sympathy is when you're sorry for someone, you're offering condolences, for something that has happened. Empathy is where you're taking your time to get to know another individual. You're taking your energy and you're putting it aside so that you can walk a mile in someone else's shoes. Now, that is true empathy. How else will I understand where you come from? How else will I understand what you suffer with if I don't first walk a mile in your shoes? And that's what I'm so grateful for, all of the experiences that I've had over life. Not all of them have been nice. Trust, they have not. Some of them caused great damage, but I'm really happy and grateful that I was able to go through those experiences so that I can say I have walked a mile, baby, in your shoes. If you are insecure, I have walked a mile in your shoes. If you feel rejected, I have walked a mile in your shoes. If you have resentments that you can't seem to get rid of because the wound seems so deep, I have walked a mile in your shoes. And if you are the greatest overachiever that sometimes gets so tired of achieving sometimes, I have walked in your shoes. We are more alike than we're not. And that's the one thing I want you to understand is that behind this face, behind these beautiful eyes, right? Behind this brilliant smile, behind all of this is a person. The same feelings, the same exact desires, wanting to be understood, wanting to be heard, wanting to be seen. We all have these desires. We just don't look the same. See, we are all the same. We were all created equal in that way. We were all created equal in that way that we feel hurt, we feel happy, we feel sad, we feel joyous and exuberant. We experience all the same emotions, right? We just may not experience them from the same situations and circumstances, but we are so much more alike than we are different. See, so that's what I want to help you remember as you move into this fourth component of empathy. I want you to understand that everyone wants to be accepted, everyone wants to be received well. Not just you, not just me, right? When I was thinking about this empathy, God showed me, He showed me a bedrock. And when I say bedrock, I mean like in a creek where you have all the little tiny stones, you know, and the water just kind of goes over them and through them and around them. God was showing me that in a form of the bedrock, right, for empathy. It is the bedrock that creates the lasting, bonding relationships. And then he showed me, because I wondered, well, if it's a foundation, then why didn't you just show me concrete slab, you know, cut and dry concrete slab, foundation? And he's like, no, because not every bedrock is the same. Therefore, not every connection that you have with another individual is going to be the same as you had with the last individual. Because each of these little stones in the bedrock represents a person, right? And so all these little stones, and then the water that he was showing me that was running through them and running over them was the empathy. Oh, it was just beautiful. And what he's showing me is that empathy is like fluid. Empathy has the ability to recede into those smallest, tiniest, littlest, darkest, insecure places that we have. Most of us have built our lives up really wonderfully with all kinds of wonderful things, achievements, all kinds of goals, all kinds of material possessions, family, all kinds of things, right? All those things in your life represents the little pebbles and the rocks, right? And so there's so much, all the little roles that you play: grandma, mom, sister, teacher, wife, confidant, friend. You have so many different roles, and this is all about the bedrock. See, he was showing me that this bedrock is so personal. It is so personal to the connection, and that's what makes empathy so special, because you have to care about that individual. You have to practice being open-minded enough to actually hear and consider what another person is saying without even thinking about how you're going to respond, right? You have to be able to just sit and listen, which is a gift. Not everyone can do that. Trust, that's only for the highly effective people that can listen for empathy, right? We listen with our eyes. We listen with our ears. We listen with our hearts. We listen through our own experiences that identify with the person that is speaking to us. This is what empathy is all about. Having empathy makes you a highly effective person, because you have the ability then to connect to people through their emotions, even when they're trying to hide them. Because body language, I can see what you're not saying, right? I can see what you're not saying. I can see what you're not saying. People wear all kinds of masks. You know what I'm saying? There are all kinds of situations and circumstances. But when you have emotional intelligence, you're able to go in, right, with your personal victory, being all proactive, looking for solutions, right, being a leader of your life and beginning with the end in mind. You can bring all of these things to the table, right? And then you start putting the first things first, And then you come in with that win-win, mindset, putting everyone at ease, right? Emotional intelligence is probably one of the greatest components of, empathy is probably one of the greatest components of emotional intelligence in my book. But okay, I hope I was able to give you something here, that can help you understand emotional intelligence. Trying to see if there's anything else that I needed to say to you about this. I don't think so. But what I do want to let you know is that if you have any questions about anything that I've said tonight, if you're confused about emotional intelligence and why it is so important, I hope I covered that for you tonight. Having a healthy emotional or a high emotional intelligence means that you have the ability to have wonderful relationships, and that you are the kind of person that someone would want to be friends with. You are definitely a winner. And there are only 3% of the population who can consider themselves as highly effective people. And I know you want to be one of them. So I want you to keep coming back. I want you to come back next week on Wednesday evening at 7:15 and spend another hour, not an hour, but 15, 20 minutes with me so I can give you some more information about emotional intelligence. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, anything you want to talk about, please call me. I would love to talk to you more about this and set up a time where we can take a look at where you want to go, so we can take a look on how we can broaden you out. See, a lot of times moving forward comes so intuitively. Moving forward. It's just the next grade up. It's just the next pay scale. It's just the next, you know what I'm saying? But broadening out sometimes doesn't come as intuitive. And that's what I'd like to help you to do. I'd like to help you to broaden yourself out so you can become not just effective, but highly effective in your jobs, highly effective in your home, highly effective in your life, in your overall life, goals you want to achieve, and all those sorts of things. I want you to know that I believe in you and I'm here to help you. Okay, that's going to do it for me this evening. And in the meantime, I am going to ask God to bless you real good. And I can't wait to see you again next week. And if something I said today resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. I'd love for your friends to be able to hear all of this wonderful information as well. All right, I love you guys, and I'll see you again next week on Willingness Wednesday. Grateful to be your coach. Bye.